Most people think the rich live louder. Bigger cars, nicer clothes, expensive vacations, visible success. But real wealth usually does not look like that. Most of the habits that actually build wealth happen quietly, behind closed doors, without attention, without applause. And that is exactly why most people miss them. Because the biggest difference between rich and poor is usually not income alone. It is behavior. It is what people do when nobody is watching. It is how they think, what they prioritize, and what they are willing to repeat for years without immediate rewards. The rich are not just doing bigger things. They are doing different things. Small things, silent things, things that compound over time. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 quiet things the rich do that the poor usually do not. And once you see them, you start realizing that wealth is often built in ways nobody notices until the results are impossible to ignore. If you want more videos that help you build real wealth, not just look successful, make sure to subscribe. Number 1, they buy time before they buy things. Most people use money to consume. A better phone, better clothes, more takeout, more convenience that feels good for a moment but changes nothing long term. Rich people tend to use money differently. They use it to create more time, more energy, and more focus. That might mean automating bills so they do not waste mental space on small decisions. It might mean paying for convenience in areas that free up hours each week. It might mean outsourcing low-value tasks when possible, not because they are above doing them, but because they understand that not all hours are equal. They know that some tasks cost more than they look like they cost, not just in money, but in attention, energy, and momentum. And when too much of your life gets spent on low-value tasks, you have less left for the things that actually move your life forward. That is the key shift. Poor people often ask, "What can this money buy me right now?" Rich people ask, "What can this money free me up to do?" Because when you protect your time, you protect the one asset that creates everything else. Better work, better decisions, better opportunities, better recovery. And over time, that is a huge advantage. The rich understand something simple that most people miss. Money can come back, time cannot. Number 2, they play long-term games with long-term people. Most poor people are looking for speed, fast money, fast results, fast proof that something is working. So they jump from one trend to the next, one idea to the next, one opportunity to the next, never staying in one lane long enough to become truly dangerous in it. Rich people move differently. They pick a game and stay in it. Business, real estate, investing, sales, a skill, a craft. They go deep instead of constantly switching directions. And because they stay in the game longer than most people, they build something most people never do. Real skill, real trust, real reputation. That matters because wealth rarely comes from random effort. It usually comes from consistency, applied in the same direction for a long time. But it is not just about the game. It is also about the people. The rich are careful about who they build with. They value patient, strategic relationships. People who think long-term. People who do not panic. People who keep their word. People who want to build, not just talk. Because long-term people create long-term outcomes. Over time, trust becomes leverage. Reputation becomes leverage. Alignment becomes leverage. And once that starts compounding, the results are hard to compete with. That is why the rich do not just ask, "What works fastest?" They ask, "What can I stay committed to long enough for it to actually compound?" Number 3, they never feel the need to look rich. Poor people often spend money to signal success. Better car, designer clothes, expensive dinners, upgraded lifestyle. Not always because they are irresponsible, but because they want the feeling of having made it. Rich people stop caring about the signal and focus on the asset. They understand that a lot of status symbols do not build wealth. They drain it. Every dollar spent trying to look successful is a dollar that is no longer buying freedom, ownership, or future income. That is why many rich people look ordinary. They do not need outside validation because their confidence does not come from what they display. It comes from what they have built. And that creates a huge advantage. When you stop spending to impress people, your money starts working for you instead of your image. Modesty stops looking like sacrifice and starts looking like freedom. You feel less pressure to keep up, less pressure to prove something, less pressure to turn your life into a performance. That is the difference between looking rich and being rich. One is built for attention, the other is built for options. And over time, the people who stop chasing the appearance of wealth are usually the ones who quietly end up with the real thing. Number 4, they quietly study what other people ignore. Poor people consume noise, headlines, trends, hot takes, viral opinions. They spend hours around money without actually learning how money works. Rich people study boring things that quietly compound. They learn taxes, they learn compound interest, they learn market cycles, they learn the financial basics most people skip because they do not look exciting. And that gives them an edge most people never notice until years later. What makes this powerful is that they do not learn fast just to sound smart. They learn slowly, but deeply. They take time to understand what actually matters, then use that knowledge to make better decisions over and over again. That is how quiet learning turns into quiet wealth. Because one good decision around taxes, investing, debt, or ownership can be worth thousands of dollars. And when those better decisions stack for years, the gap gets huge. Most people want fast answers. The rich want lasting understanding. And in the long run, that difference pays. Number 5, they prioritize freedom over flexing. Poor people often use money to impress. Rich people use money to create autonomy, peace, and options. That is a massive difference. One person gets a raise and immediately upgrades their lifestyle. Better apartment, better car, more expensive habits. The money comes in, and almost all of it goes right back out. The rich tend to resist that trap. They avoid lifestyle creep because they understand what extra money can really buy. Not just nicer stuff, but more freedom, more room to breathe, more ability to say no, more control over how they spend their days. That is why they often choose an open calendar over an expensive image. They would rather have fewer obligations than more status symbols. They would rather have the power to walk away than the pressure to maintain appearances. Because the real flex is not looking successful. The real flex is controlling your life. It is being able to turn down bad work, leave bad situations, rest without guilt, make decisions without panic, and live in a way that is driven by choice instead of pressure. That is what real wealth starts to buy. Not attention, not applause, freedom. Real wealth is invisible until it becomes undeniable. That is what most people miss. These habits do not look dramatic in the moment. They look small, quiet, almost boring. But over time, they create a life most people only pretend to have. A life with more peace, more options, more control, and far less pressure. Because wealth is usually built privately first. It is built in how you think, what you study, what you ignore, what you stop trying to prove, and what you choose to repeat year after year when nobody is watching. Long before wealth shows up on the outside, it starts taking shape on the inside through discipline, patience, and quiet decisions. That is the encouraging part. These habits are not reserved for some special kind of person. You do not need to be born rich to start thinking this way. You do not need to look successful to begin building something real. You just need to stop chasing appearances and start repeating behaviors that actually compound. Because you do not become rich by acting rich. You become rich by thinking clearly, moving patiently, and repeating quiet habits that build real strength over time. And eventually, what started in silence becomes impossible to ignore. If this video gave you a new way to think about wealth, subscribe to the channel for more content that helps you build real money, not just the appearance of it. And let me know in the comments, which of these 5 quiet habits hit you the hardest? If you want to keep going, watch the next video, because that is where we break down the signs you are secretly rich, even if it does not look like it yet.